Is an introduction to oxidation and reduction reactions. We often abbreviate oxidation and reduction, so we just call these redox reactions for short. So, what is an oxidation reduction or a redox reaction? Here's a quick definition. In oxidation reduction reactions, electrons move between atoms. Check out this diagram here. We got atom A and atom B, and there's an electron moving out of atom A into atom B. So this is definitely an oxidation reduction reaction because there's an electron moving between the atoms. Now, we can describe the movement of this electron using the words oxidation and reduction. So let's learn specifically what both of these mean. Reduction is a gain of electrons. I know this seems kind of confusing because usually when you have a reduction of something, you have less of it. We'll talk later about why a gain of electrons is called a reduction. But anyway, reduction, gain of electrons, and then oxidation, which is a loss of electrons. So we got reduction and oxidation. What's happening to atoms A and B over here? Well, atom A is giving up one of its electrons. It's losing an electron. So at atom A, oxidation is taking place. Atom B is receiving an electron. It's gaining an electron. So at atom B, reduction is taking place. Now, we can modify these words slightly to come up with terms we use to describe what's happening to the atoms. Atom A is undergoing oxidation, so we can say that atom A is being oxidized. Atom B is undergoing reduction, so we can say that atom B is being reduced. So we got oxidation, oxidized, reduction, reduced. The big picture here is that reduction is a gain of electrons and oxidation is a loss. So I don't know about you, but when I was first learning this stuff, I found it so confusing. Why should a reduction be a gain of electrons? Usually when you're reducing something, you're getting less of it. So here's one thing that might be helpful to think about. That's that electrons have negative charge. So as you add electrons to something, its charge goes down. The more electrons you add, the lower the charge. So as you add electrons, as electrons are gained, the charge reduces. So that might be helpful to keep in mind to have this make a little bit more sense. Still, these things can be really confusing to remember. So here are a couple really great mnemonics. First is the term oil rig. This is the name of one of those big structures you use to drill for oil. OIL stands for oxidation is loss, and RIG stands for reduction is gains. It's a really good mnemonic. Here's another one you might like if you like animals. Leo the lion says grr. All right, LEO stands for loss of electrons is oxidation, and grr stands for gain of electrons is reduction. So learn one or both of these. Will be a great way you can always remember what reduction is and what oxidation is. Okay, oxidation and reduction happen in all sorts of chemical reactions. They're like the super important thing that makes those reactions happen, that makes them go. So to learn more about this stuff, we're going to have to look at an example of a chemical reaction where oxidation and reduction are taking place. Here's a chemical reaction that we're going to be talking about. Sodium and chlorine coming together to make sodium chloride, table salt. Now, sodium chloride is an ionic compound, which means that it's made of ions. Specifically, the sodium 1+ and the chloride 1- ions. These two ions stick together because they have opposite charges, and opposite charges attract. Now, Na and Cl, they didn't always have charges, though. Over here, before they combined, they have no charge. They are two electrically neutral atoms. So in order to come together and make sodium chloride, these two atoms have to end up getting charges, and then they stick together. So let's talk about how this happens, how they end up getting charges. So we start out with Na and Cl here as electrically neutral atoms with no charge, and they're on their own. They're separate.